What up, chat? It's your boy Suave. What I wanted to talk about today was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I absolutely love Final Fantasy VII, and Rebirth is a big deal. The last couple months, I've seen more people on YouTube uploading like their brand new playthroughs. People that have never played the original Final Fantasy VII. So to see like their reaction, like I've never seen that many different people stream the same game. You know what I mean? That's how much I love this game. I just wanted to see people's reactions, their take on the story and everything. I've also done a lot of research. I'm not like a lore master. I think I've consumed all the compilations of all the different games. I've played Dirge of Cerberus. This shit was terrible. I've seen Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. I didn't play through Crisis Core. The original game, I played the intro, the beginning, but I didn't play Crisis Core Reunion. I want to. I don't know if I'll have time. So I'm probably not, even though I want to, I'm probably not gonna stream Crisis Core Reunion before Rebirth. But I kind of got the gist of it, right? I know about Zack. I know the intro to Crisis Core and how it ends. I don't really have much knowledge about everything in between there. So, but I got the important bits. A lot of people are theory crafting, right, for Rebirth. Spoilers, chat. Spoilers. If you guys haven't played the original, stop watching this shit right now. Just stop, because I'm gonna blow it up. So, Aerith, the infamous scene with Aerith in the original, with Sephiroth killing Aerith. Sorry, chat. Sorry, I had to say it because we're gonna get into it. That was a big part of, I think, everyone's childhood who've played the original game, right? Those of us who were teens and preteens, particularly me, I was like 11, 12 years old. This game came out when I was 10. So 1997. And mind you, this was before the internet age. This is even before like dial-up. We didn't even have dial-up. Like, I was going to school and learning shit from my friends about the game. All that extra shit, like getting the Ultimania guide and the like, my friends did all of that shit. So I took advantage of their resources. But we would go to school and we would talk about like all the new shit we would find. Like, oh, did you go here? Oh, there's a fucking Chocobo Sage like on top of this mountain in this little secluded area where you can go to, and you need to like talk to him, and every once in a while like he'll give you new hints and shit and like how to breed the gold Chocobo. And everybody was like wild about, oh my god, like those days. You don't get that feeling anymore now. And everything, the internet just like gives you everything that you need. Like, anything you want to know, you just type it in and the answer is right there at your fingertips. So it's definitely not like how it was before. I remember my first playthrough, I completely missed Yuffie. I got Vincent, right? And Vincent, he's missable too, which is crazy because he has like a lot of backstory that, like, if you missed, like, you wouldn't know, and you had to like fucking play through the game again and shit. That's why that game was just crazy with like how much content it had and how much stuff, important things that you could actually miss, right? So there were two missable characters, Yuffie being one, which we just got the Yuffie DLC. I just played through that on the remake, right? But you could miss Yuffie, which I did on my first playthrough. I didn't know that you had to like spend a certain amount of time in this little patch of forest to try to get that random encounter. And you know, if you run past that forest and you get those encounters and you don't wait long enough to encounter Yuffie, you just miss Yuffie and you continue through the game without her. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. Vincent as well. You could just leave him sleeping in Shinra Manor, right? So I can't tell you enough how big of an impact Final Fantasy VII has had to my life in particular, and to many others who feel the same as gamers. That is the game that made me fall in love with like RPGs, role-playing games, Japanese RPGs in particular. Like, you know, the whole turn-based shit initially turned me off because I was 10 years old. I didn't know, like, I was used to playing games like Mario, Sonic, fucking Mega Man. You know, these are just straightforward platformers, right to left. There's no really much exploring. There's no missable story. There's no, like, you know what I'm saying? It's really straightforward video games, action games, platformers and shit. Final Fantasy 7 really, like, made me fall in love. Like, the way it delivers the story to you, you know, and you had to do all this reading. At first it turned me off. Turn-based combat, I'm like, yo, what is this? Why am I waiting so long? I just want to attack. But as I grew a little older, I revisited the game, and then that's when I really fell in love with it. Not when I initially got it, when I was 10 years old for Christmas. I asked my mother for this game, but it was actually a couple years later, when I was about 12 going on to 13, that I popped the game disc back in. I was like, you know what, let me give this another chance. I got it there. I played all my other games. Let me see what this shit is about again. And I started reading, and I fell in love, chat. Fell in love. So, all right, I digress. We're gonna get back to the whole Aerith being dead or Sephiroth killing Aerith, right? I just want to kind of preface this with my experience and my 2 cents and shit, and what I've been doing the last month trying to get the stream ready, right? This game means a lot to me, so I'll use the mic. The mic definitely sounds better than the headphones I was using, the PS5 headphones. So maybe I'll get the PS5 webcam, but I don't know if that's any better than this. You guys let me know, chat. Maybe if you guys can chime in and just help me out. I'm streaming. I'm still learning. Like, I don't know if I should be buying a capture card, like an HD capture card. You know, I want my shit to be as the best quality possible for the equipment that I have, but you know, I got to work with what I got. So, anyways, back to Rebirth. Actually, we need to talk about Remake, right? Because Remake isn't a faithful one-to-one iteration, right? Or remake in the sense of the name. It's actually, Remake has so many meanings. It's really a retelling. Because Sephiroth, there's a reason why the developers of this game wanted you or us to go back and play this. They like re-released the entire compilation of Final Fantasy 7 video games. Like you had the Crisis Core Reunion, you have Final Fantasy 7 Remake. They're re-releasing Advent Children, which is important. They're doing that for a reason, chat. What else? They had like those mobile games. I didn't play any of them, but like I've seen clips of when Sephiroth was a kid, and that shit was interesting. Like I don't know where that shit was going, but I want to know more about that. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, Remake is making a statement. It's telling you that the game, although it's gonna be faithful to the original and most of the story is preserved there, they're doing something with the game and like introducing what some people theorize as like multiple timelines, and I understand why they're perceiving it that way. You know, Zack is supposed to die in his last that's his standoff that he does when he's like trying to carry Cloud while he's just like severely disoriented and fucked up from the Mako poisoning and shit. He's carrying Cloud back to Midgar. Cloud is just like incapacitated and shit, and he like puts Cloud down, and then he has his last stand, and that's where he's supposed to die. And then Cloud like kind of regains some kind of consciousness. He goes to Zack as Zack is dying, and Zack gives him the Buster Sword. That's when Cloud inherits the Buster Sword, right? Zack inherits the Buster Sword from Genesis, which we learn in Crisis Core, and then Zack, as he dies, passes on that legacy, that Buster Sword, to Cloud. So Zack is supposed to die. At the end of Remake, we realize after defeating the Whispers that Zack, in his timeline, in his time, actually survives that. So we don't know what the developers specifically are trying to do there, and which is why it's interesting. They're trying to keep it fresh for OG fans, those of us who played the original game. They're kind of trying to keep us on our toes and thinking, like second guessing ourselves, like, is it gonna play out this way? So everybody is theory crafting for Rebirth right now. Everybody's like, yo, are they gonna keep that infamous scene of Sephiroth killing Aerith? And I think yes and no. Let me cook, chat. Just work with me here for a second. Yes and no. Why yes and no? I don't think they're gonna remove that, right? That scene, they can't take that away. Sephiroth killing Aerith, that like has to happen, right? Sephiroth has to kill Aerith. But what if, hear me out, chat. What if in Remake you have a choice? I mean, not Remake, Rebirth. Sorry. Because in Remake they emphasize choice a lot, right? Although the choices you make in Remake doesn't affect the story, the plot stays the same. They're really introducing in Remake a lot of like player choice, because depending on the choices you make, it does change certain things, like the outfits you get in particular, which is not a big deal. It doesn't have anything to do, it doesn't affect the plot at all. But like you get certain scenes, like there's a scene, like if you choose when you see Don Corneo for the first time and he like throws you into the sewer and you end up in the sewer, and then you have Aerith, Cloud wakes up and he sees Aerith and Tifa on the floor. It's very subtle what they did there, but there's a choice. You have to choose who you want to wake up first, Aerith or Tifa. And depending on who you wake up first, you'll get a different scene later on when you're in Aerith's house. After the fall of the plate, in Sector 7 plate, you're in Aerith's house, you get a different scene. So choice matters. Like they're trying to emphasize that. And even more after you defeated the Whispers, right? The entire point of the Whispers is to tell you that when defeating them, the time, the OG timeline, the timeline of the original game is no longer, it's not ensured in a sense. It's not guaranteed that things will play out this way, because now you defeated the one thing that was gonna keep that timeline intact, right? That was the whole point of introducing the Whispers. That, and the Whispers is the part of the game that I hated the most. I shouldn't say hate, I disliked the most, right? Because I loved Final Fantasy VII Remake, but as a diehard fan of the original game, I didn't understand why they had to introduce them. It's only after multiple playthroughs and then playing the demo of Rebirth and then like really understanding the direction that the developers are trying to take this game that I understand why the Whispers are there. I've come to accept that they're there, even though I still dislike them. And I think I speak for many OG fans. When we first saw those fucking cloaked, what looked like Dementors, like what in the fucking Harry Potter is this? It's like, what are these ghosts, and what are these plot ghosts, and why are they even in the game? Like I thought this was a remake of the original. So I really dislike that, chat. I'm gonna be honest. I even now I think they could have done a great job retelling the story without the Whispers, but I understand why they introduced them, right? And it's gonna have a great impact for Rebirth and potentially the third game. But more specifically for Rebirth. Why? Because I think that pivotal moment of Sephiroth killing Aerith is something that they want to kind of not eliminate or change up in a sense, but they're introducing choice, chat. They're introducing choice. So, all right. Defeating the Arbiters of Fate in Remake now opens up the story to be changed, right? But the Whispers weren't necessarily completely defeated in Remake. If you guys noticed during the fight with Sephiroth, right before we fight Sephiroth actually absorbs the Whispers. This is important, chat. Everything that they show you, everything that they say is for a reason. There is no out of place line. There is no character dialogue that was introduced just there by accident. Everything that's said and everything that's shown in Remake is there for a reason. For it has purpose, right? So even though I dislike the whispers, I think I understand now why they're there. So back to Sephiroth. It's obvious for those of us who played the compilation, who've seen Advent Children and everything, that this Sephiroth in Remake is not the same Sephiroth. It's not the OG Sephiroth. This is the future Sephiroth. This is post Advent Children Sephiroth, right? And he's actually coming back in time somehow through the live stream, or however he's influencing the past. And I'm going to say influencing because he's physically not there. And you could be like, oh yeah, well he got Genova, and we had to fight him at the end. But I don't think that was Sephiroth's real body. So those guys in the black robes that you see wandering aimlessly throughout the world and shit, they're just like scattered here and there with the number tattoos, like the one that Cloud met in chapter 3. These guys are effectively clones of Sephiroth. They're literally they've been injected with Sephiroth cells, and Sephiroth can manifest himself through their bodies. They're like conduits for Sephiroth, which is why when you seen the guy at the top of the Shinra building, that Cloud and them saw Sephiroth, but it wasn't actually Sephiroth. It was one of these guys in the black robes that actually picked up Genova's body, and Sephiroth is using them to enact his will, basically. And when the guy jumped off with Genova's body from the top of Shinra Tower, you seen that it wasn't Sephiroth. It was actually one of the guys in the black robes. So this is important. And if you play the OG game, you know what I'm talking about, because the real Sephiroth's real body you find later on. He's not even physically there, right? And in the OG game, Sephiroth was not present at all in the first part of the game. So Sephiroth, if this was a faithful retelling, Sephiroth shouldn't have shown up at all in Remake, like at all. But the fact that they threw him in there so much, right? And the things that he says is making it obvious to the player that this is a Sephiroth who has knowledge of the future. He's aware of events that are gonna unfold, right? So I think the entire purpose of introducing the Whispers is to tell you that the Whispers are there because Sephiroth is changing shit. Sephiroth is the Whispers wouldn't be there if that was the original Sephiroth, if it wasn't post Advent Children Sephiroth, right? Somehow after Advent Children, Sephiroth still lives in the live stream somehow, and he's still influencing the world. That's just how powerful this nigga is. And he's not entirely dead. Like, he lives through mimetic memory, through like DNA. And remember in Crisis Core, after like the whole scene with Nibelheim, which they retell in Rebirth, and you play the demo, but it cuts off, right? After that part, it cuts off. Cloud is supposed to go and like kill Sephiroth, and that's what he says in Remake, like, oh, I remember it was our crowning moment together and all this, that, and the third. Then even Sephiroth quotes fucking Cloud's mom. Like, I love it. I love the way they told the story. I just don't like the Whispers, right? I don't even mind that they introduced Sephiroth that early in the game. That part was great, actually. It was the way, and even the Whispers, right? If they weren't so intrusive in the plot, I would have liked them more. But it was because the way how much like they interfered in the plot, like they made it, they just did too much, right? for example, right before you fought the Dreamweaver Genova, when you get to the top of Shinra building into the office of the president and shit, and you know Sephiroth kills the president, but it's not just the president. He also kills Barret. Like, that doesn't happen. So, but why did the developers have to add that? And it obviously, the Whispers saved Barret, so that's why they did that, to show you that the Whispers was gonna keep the timeline intact, even though we don't remember Sephiroth killing Barret. But why did Sephiroth do it? Why did Sephiroth kill Barret? He didn't have to. Obviously, if he knew the Whispers was gonna save Barret and they were gonna keep the timeline intact, like, why even go through the trouble of killing Barret? Is to fuck with them, to show them that his intention is to change shit. Sephiroth is intentionally trying to change shit, but he knew that the Whispers was gonna bring Barret back, so he didn't think anything of it. He just stabbed Barret like, oh, he's gonna come back anyways, but just let me fuck with these guys, right? Let them think that Barret is about to die, and the developers had us all fucked up. We was just like, oh no, they just killed Barret. But, you know, obviously you seen the sword and you seen like the little ghost smoke. It was no blood and shit like that. Like, it was almost obvious to me as soon as Sephiroth stabbed Barret that like the Whispers was gonna bring them back, because that was what they were emphasizing through the whole shit. Like, oh yeah, the Whispers are gonna keep the timeline intact no matter what happens. But then what happens towards the end? We defeat the Whispers, right? So with Sephiroth, post-Advent Children Sephiroth, one-winged angel, black-winged Sephiroth, comes back, right? Because he knows about his demise. He knows the crew is going to ultimately defeat him. So he's coming back to try to change shit. And in intending to do so and actually fucking with Cloud and coming back and doing all this other shit, influencing the world, the past, the live stream creates the Whispers. So the Whispers are a product of Sephiroth coming back to fuck with everything. That was why the developers added the Whispers, right? It wasn't totally clear, especially when you're first playing through the game, and it's not to the end of the game that you really understand why the Whispers are there. But like through playing multiple times and then seeing what they're trying to do with Rebirth, that I've really come to accept, okay, the Whispers are a thing. We defeated them in the first game. We don't got to worry too much about them in the second game. I don't think they're going to like really come out. But they still are a factor, because even though we defeated the Arbiter of Fate and the Whispers in a sense, Sephiroth absorbed the Whispers. Sephiroth from the very beginning of the game has been beckoning us, fucking with Cloud, messing with his mind and instilling doubt and trying to take Cloud into this whole dark path. I'm gonna get back to that too, because I have more to say on that shit. But he's doing that, or him doing that is the whole reason why the Whispers exist, right? This is the planet's way of trying to preserve the timeline that Sephiroth is obviously messing up. So, all right. With that said, about the scene with Aerith, right, for Rebirth, everybody is theory crafting. They're like, well, timeline has changed and there's no more Whispers to keep the timeline, and this is obviously a future Sephiroth with knowledge of the future who's trying to like change shit. They obviously introducing change. And what is changing? The choices that the characters are gonna make. Again, they're emphasizing a lot character choice, player choice, I should say. So they introduced that a little bit in Rebirth. It didn't affect the story, but not Rebirth, in Remake. They introduced that in Remake, which your decisions didn't affect the overall story, but you get extra content. You get like you get to change small things like the outfits that the characters wear and shit like that. So that was cool. But I think there's a reason for that. Again, there's a reason for everything that they did. They really thought about this, right? I still dislike the Whispers, but there's a reason, and I understand it now. Because for Rebirth, they're introducing even more the element of player choice, and they're making it so that the choices really do matter this time, right? You have to develop your relationship with your party members. That affects your party level. That affects how the mood between you and them, and who you're going to end up taking to the gold saucer, right? And this time you could potentially take all your party members to the gold saucer. But what if your player choice is it's not limited to just who you're going to end up with at the gold saucer, and or like these small little, oh, who do you like, or who do you want to take on a date, and who you want to go here with, or whatever. But like major plot events this time. Specifically the infamous Aerith being killed by Sephiroth, right? So what did I mean by, is it gonna happen, is it not? Yes and no. What if it's both, right? Because they're introducing Zack's timeline now. So, all right, what if the player, based on the choices he makes in Rebirth, Sephiroth doesn't kill Aerith, but he kills somebody else? So what if both things are there, right? Like, sure, Aerith is supposed to die, right? But in killing Aerith, Sephiroth basically ensures his defeat, because in killing Aerith falls, she dies, and the white materia like falls into the life stream. And it's because of that. I'm not gonna blow up, because of the third game, obviously I'm not gonna blow up the ending and tell you guys exactly how that affects the ending. But by killing Aerith and the white materia falling into the life stream, that right there ensures Sephiroth's defeat. So what if that pivotal moment of Sephiroth killing Aerith, that's the moment that Sephiroth is trying to change? And based on your player choices in Rebirth, will change the outcome. Think about that shit, chat, for a second. What if instead of Aerith, what if Sephiroth kills Tifa? What if, because obviously in Remake, that whole choosing between who you like more, you like Aerith more, do you like Tifa? Obviously Tifa's an extremely likable character, right? She's gorgeous, and everybody loves Tifa. Who doesn't love Tifa, right? But Aerith is adorable too, and they obviously both, Cloud loves them both, and Aerith, and they both kind of like are digging Cloud. They're both into Cloud. So them introducing the small choices that doesn't really impact the story, but like just getting you familiar with, all right, which one of these characters do you like more, right? Do you like Aerith more? Do you like Tifa more? It's really that trio right there between Cloud, Aerith, and Tifa that I think they're focusing on, and is going to be a real big impact for Rebirth. Because if you choose, for example, if you choose to develop more your relationship with Tifa, and let's say one of the choices that affects the later outcome is you choosing Tifa to go on in the the gold saucer, right? You choosing Tifa to go with you on the ride in the gold saucer. What if making that choice actually makes it so that Sephiroth kills Tifa instead of Aerith? Bro, I haven't heard nobody put this shit together like the way I'm telling you right now. Nobody. There's probably like a million theorized YouTube videos out there regarding Rebirth, right? And I'm not gonna sit here and say I've seen them all. So maybe somebody has said this shit, but out of all the shit that I've seen, everybody's just like, well, is it going to happen, or is it not going to happen, or is it gonna happen differently? But what if it's all of the above? What if that timeline is preserved there where Aerith dies, yes, but based on your choices, right? So you can choose a certain path, and the canon, basically, the what is supposed to happen is Aerith is supposed to die. But what if through your choices you can change, you can alter that, and Sephiroth ends up killing Tifa? And that was the whole point of the Whispers in Remake. Why Sephiroth absorbed the Whispers. Basically, the potential to change the timeline is now within Sephiroth. I don't know. This is just me, again, theorizing. But it's a good theory, right? And then everybody's like, oh, well, what about Zack? What about Zack and his timeline? Why would the developers bring back Zack? What if that timeline isn't like an actual alternate timeline? What if Zack is actually still dead, but he's like in the live stream somehow, like living out, you know, like a ghost who can't accept the fact that they're dead. You know what I'm saying? Like on some ghost shit, like the movie Ghost. Like he can't accept the fact that he's dead and doesn't even realize that he's dead, or that he's living still his what would be his story through the live stream. It's not actual. This is a whole separate shit. And the fact that when you see Zack at the end of Remake, and you see the bag, like the little potato chip bag that flies by, and you see Stamp, it isn't the same Stamp in from the beginning of the game, from the entirety of the game. It's like it's a different Stamp, which is again indicating and trying to hint at us that this is not the same timeline. These are two separate events happening. But why are they doing this? We don't really know why. You know, we don't know how Zack is going to affect Cloud and them and their story. But we do know that by defeating the Whispers in Remake, it actually affected Zack's timeline, because when the Whispers were defeated, we see that Zack is still alive, and then there was that explosion and that whole little, you know, shower of light particles and shit from the defeat of the Whispers. Like the Whispers were suddenly purified, and now they're no more. So Zack's story continues, right? And where he ends up in Midgar after the Yuffie DLC. You see, he ends up in Midgar, goes back to the church. He's looking for Aerith. Aerith is nowhere to be found. So, and then what if, like Biggs, we see Biggs that he survived, but what if Biggs and them wake up and end up in Zack's timeline, because they're actually dead? They're not alive with Cloud and Barret, and they're not on that timeline anymore. They're in a whole separate. They're doing their own shit in the live stream, right? Like this shit is crazy. It's interesting. Is all I can say. Like I'm fascinated by the story and where they want to take this shit. Yeah, man, it's like, oh my god. And then, all right, so Sephiroth absorbs the Whispers. So now, because of that, and he already has knowledge of all the shit that he was supposed to do. And because he absorbed the Whispers, now he has the potential to change what he was supposed to do, right? So now he can choose whether he's going to kill Aerith or Tifa. Or he doesn't necessarily choose. It's Cloud will have to choose, or us, the player, right? Because they're introducing and they're emphasizing player choice and the relationship between characters. I love this. If they do this, this is gonna be insane. But I really think that that original timeline is preserved there, but also by certain choices you make throughout Rebirth can actually potentially change who dies. Instead of Aerith, it could be potentially Tifa. Now you could be like, oh well, what about the other characters? I mean, killing any of the other characters is not gonna have that great of an impact, to be honest. They already tried to kill Barret in Remake, so they eliminated that. Like, why would they rehash that? Why would they try to redo that? It's not gonna have, you know what I'm saying? And then Barret is a cool character, don't get me wrong, but it's not like, you being the player as Cloud, and especially as a guy, like, who do you really love in that game? It's Tifa or Aerith, right? It's one of those girls. And that was a big thing in Remake. It was like you had to choose which one you wanted to like really, fuck with more. Excuse my vulgarity, chat. That's just the way I talk. We New Yorkers and shit. Man, they could literally. I've been thinking about this shit so much, and just to show you like how much I'm into this shit and what they're trying to do. This game is gonna be huge. It's gonna be massive. Oh my god, it's gonna breed a whole new generation of people that's just gonna like cry and fall in love with the game, and the emotional impact it's gonna have when one of these characters that dies, that it's like that you become so attached to, that you've developed this relationship with, that the game like emphasizes to like you have these choices whether you want to be good with them or not. I can't fucking wait. I cannot wait to play this shit. I'm like trying to gather my thoughts. What else did I want to talk about that I didn't really say? It's just like everybody's theory crafting, and everybody's like, well, are they gonna kill Aerith? Are they not? Obviously, Aerith has to die. Obviously, but how do they change that up? Player choice. You choose who dies. Aerith dies by canon. That's just like the default setting, right? Like if you make all the wrong choices, or if you just play through the game, you don't do any side missions, you don't do any character development, you don't give a fuck who you choose to go with you on the ride to go saucer, you don't give a shit about none of that shit. You just play through the story, you want to get over with as fast as possible. What happens? Aerith dies. That's what happens in the OG, right? But let's say you go through the trouble of doing the side missions, of developing your relationship with your characters, of choosing who you want to go with to the gold sources, particularly Tifa. Let's just say Tifa, because like I said, I don't give a shit if they kill Yuffie, fucking Kate Sith, right? Katsi, however you want to pronounce it. I'm American, right? And it's Kate Sith forever for me. I don't give a shit who doesn't like it. But honestly, the weakest characters in that crew, to me, even though Yuffie and Vincent are both missable characters, Vincent had a lot of backstory. And he got his own game, the Dirge of Cerberus, which was whack. This shit sucked. We could do without it, right? And the whole deep ground shit, like, whatever. But anyways, I digress. Vincent still, disregarding all the deep ground shit in his own game, still has a lot to fill in when it comes to like, because he was a Turk, right? And you learn a lot about him through getting him, which is why I think it's an obligation that they put in him in Rebirth. In this, you no longer can miss, right? You can't miss Vincent anymore, or Yuffie, but for that matter. But Yuffie was really insignificant. Like in the OG game, you could miss her, and it didn't really mean much. Her character development is not great in particular. So, Sephiroth killing Yuffie is not gonna be a big impact. And I think the developers know that. They're in tune with that shit. Who else can they kill? Barret? Yeah, but they've already did that in Remake. They attempted to do so, which is why I think they did that. They did that on purpose, which is another reason why they had Sephiroth stab Barret. So they can just eliminate, so you can get that out of your mind for Rebirth. They don't even want you to think about it. Like, they already attempted that. You had a little emotional reaction. The whispers brought him back. Don't worry, he's not gonna die anymore. That's it. Who else can they kill? Vincent, Sid. Like, and Sid is cool. Sid is cool, and he's better, I think, than Yuffie in them, because he getting reaching Sid and having him part of the crew is what gives you access to like the tiny Bronco and the high wind, right? With the high wind, you get to travel through the whole planet, and there's no place that's inaccessible to you, or no mainland that's inaccessible to you, because there's still certain places you can't go unless you had the right chocobo or gold chocobo that could just take you anywhere. Which is why the gold chocobos were an important thing, and I think it's gonna be another important thing in this game, right? Or maybe they saved the whole chocobo breeding right? Because they have different types of chocobos that you can catch in Rebirth. So maybe they'll save the whole gold chocobo and the black chocobo breeding, or maybe they'll have black chocobos in Rebirth but not gold chocobos. Maybe the gold chocobo and the chocobo sage and all of that shit, they'll save it for the third installment in this trilogy, right? So the third installment is basically you get after you get Sid, you get introduced to the High Wind. You get the High Wind, you can travel anywhere, but there's going to be certain parts of the map you're not going to be able to access unless you have a gold chocobo. That's where it's going to be important, right? And then the battle with the diamond and the ruby weapon, emerald, and all of that other shit. All of that is going to be important. That's part 3. They're not even going to, you know what I'm saying? Maybe by the end of Rebirth, we'll see like an introduction. We'll see the weapons wake up. That shit would be wicked. That shit would be wicked. But that's all part 3. I think I got it all out of my chest. As far as like remake is concerned, again, I love the game. I still love it. Although I don't think as highly of it now as I did when I first played it, because you know it just doesn't. It's not the same, especially after playing the Rebirth demo and seeing how much more improved, combat wise, storytelling wise, and all of that is over remake. Especially now that Rebirth isn't gonna have the intrusive fucking plot ghosts that just like spawn out of nowhere and just like start fucking with shit. Like why? It like, for example, with the whispers towards the end of the game, like when you were escaping Midgar, you like out of the Shinra building and you like on the little bike mini game and shit. Like while you're on the highway, twice the crew was supposed to die. Like Cloud almost killed the crew by chopping down the helicopter, and the helicopter crashes into the whip, and the whispers save the crew. Cloud almost kills the crew, and the Whispers saved them. It's like, and they did that twice in that one chapter, twice. So it's like it would the Whispers were too intrusive for me. If they were a little more subtle, like how they introduced them in the beginning of the game, and like, you know what I'm saying, if the Whispers were just a little more subtle and they didn't just like throw them in your face so much. And then in the end, you had like this epic battle with them. And we're like, oh shit, these were the things that we were seeing throughout the beginning. But no, they like emphasized way too much. Oh yeah, these are the things that are supposed to keep them the story, so you know, cohesive with the original. Everything is supposed to be this way, and so this is why these things exist, because they're trying for things to be not changed, even though things obviously did change. They introduced so much new shit. It was crazy. A lot of what they introduced, I didn't mind. Like, I enjoyed. It was just the whispers in particular. What else didn't I like about Remake? Aerial combat. The whole point of having enemies you couldn't hit with Cloud, which is why they had, you know, you had Barret and you had like Aerith, you know, you can cast spells and shit like that. So you know, aerial combat wasn't really a big thing for me. It was really more the whispers. The side missions, the uninspired fucking side missions, and you having to go find cats and missing kids and all this other shit, like, oh my god. And how slow some of the dialogue like went for the side missions is just like, yo, just get it over with. Like, I want more of the main story. I want to feed me more of the main shit. Like, I'm tired of doing like these bullshit side missions, but you end up doing them anyways, because as a completionist you want to see everything. So and then there was like, everybody complains about the second sewer mission. The sewer missions I didn't mind so much, but I understand why, because the second, it's like we have to go through the sewers a second fucking time. You just rehashing this whole fucking place again, and we gotta go through this whole shit, and it's for a character that nobody really gives a shit about. What was his fucking name? Don Corneo's guy. And they gave him some fucking backstory. Like, why would you give him a backstory? We're like, I'd rather have a whole fucking chapter with Wedge, right? And have like do some shit with Wedge. Like, oh, Wedge had to go do some shit and he got in trouble, and now like the crew, oh, we gotta go rescue him or some shit, right? But no, we had fucking find cats and this fucking whole chapter in the sewers, the rehashed sewer mission with a character nobody gives a fuck about. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, those were the downsides. But overall, like, I think the game is a huge success. The combat is innovative. They definitely preserve the whole time, the active time battle system. I love it. I can't say enough about how the characters were handled. The voice actors was fantastic. They found like literally the perfect voice actors for everybody. You know who I like the most? Barrett. Cloud, fantastic, but Barrett, man, that guy, he is hilarious. And he plays the perfect Barrett. Barrett is like a black guy. It has to be. This is why I don't. The Japanese voices for the remake don't vibe with me. Like, I heard the voices in Japanese, and Barrett's voice just not. It's like, it's a Japanese guy, you know, sounds deep and all of that shit, but it's obviously it's not, like, you know what I'm saying. The voice actor for Barrett, the English voice actor, is fucking phenomenal. It's perfect, man. But everybody is really Tifa, Aerith. Like, you can't. They were all on point. Biggs, Wedge. Wedge was who? It was the guy from Breaking Bad, right? I forgot his name. Like, I knew his voice sounded familiar, but I didn't catch on at first. Who am I missing? Jessie. Oh, I love Jessie. Flirty ass Jessie. I loved her. I fucking loved her. I wish I could have gone on that date with her, right? They should have, you know, I wouldn't have mind more side missions like that. But anyways, I'm not even going to play the Rebirth demo, the second Rebirth demo, the Junon region, only because I want all of that to just be fresh for me. Like, I've seen people play it. I'm not really, if I'm going to spend 2-3 hours playing through that and then, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure I'm going to go back and play Rebirth again on New Game Plus. They're most likely going to give us a hard mode. And they'll probably amp it up more than what they did for Remake. For Remake, the level cap was 50, right? I am predicting that the level cap is going to be bumped up for Rebirth, right? I think level 50 is going to be the cap for your first playthrough on normal or easy. And then if you want a hard mode playthrough, they'll raise the level cap from 50 to 100. And then you get to keep all your material, all your equipment and all that shit. So, and how cool will it be, or how cool would it be if when you finish your first playthrough, right? They the developers allow you to like change your costume and all that shit. I understand why this, like, you know, the costumes and everything are they're story locked, right? They don't want you to be wearing a whole ridiculous different outfit in particular parts of the game, especially when they're still trying to tell the story to you. So, but I think like once you end the game, how fucking dope would it be if you unlocked new, like you're gonna have new equipment obviously, but the equipment is not the only thing that changed in Remake, right? The only equipment visually that changed on the characters were the weapons. When Cloud got a new weapon, you see his sword was different visually. That was dope. But what if like the entire outfit they're wearing, not just the weapons, but the entire outfit they're wearing? What if on your New Game Plus you can actually change that and go through the whole game like dress differently, and you could choose a different party leader instead of having Cloud as like the main party leader through the whole shit. You could choose. Oh my god, like there's so much they can do, and I already know with how much they added to the game. I already know that some of the things that I'm saying is absolutely in the game. I already know they had to have thought about all of this shit. They were thinking about like, how can we one up Remake, right? How can we do everything that we did in Remake but even better? And how do you do that? Instead of just the weapons visually changing on the character, the whole fucking outfit. Just let us deck them out. The New Game Plus, how do we raise the level cap? Raise the level cap. Allow us to change the party members and take out whoever we want. We could just remove Cloud completely. If I would want to play the whole shit with Red 13, K-Sif, and fucking Sid or Vincent or whatever, let me do that. Let me do that. Right? I just can't, man. I cannot emphasize how much this game means to me, and like to so many people, and what they're about to do, how they're gonna fucking blow everybody's minds. I already know. I have to say this. I have to mention this. I'm glad I thought about this before I ended this. What Sephiroth, right? What Sephiroth says to Cloud, the most cryptic fucking line in the game. 7 seconds until the end. Time enough for you, perhaps. But what will you do with it? We'll have to see, right? Oh my God, I cannot fucking wait. So, alright, so just really quickly, I have to say what I think about that. I didn't know. I actually doing research and checking out the lore. I learned 7 seconds, right? He says 7 seconds until the end. What does he mean by that? I learned that in the OG game, when Sephiroth is like descending from the heavens or wherever the fuck he came from, the top of the cave, wherever the fuck he was, he just like fell from the sky and he ends up impaling Aerith. It took 7 seconds, cinematic seconds, for him to fall from where he was falling, and us seeing him descend down and him plunging his sword into Aerith. It took 7 seconds for that shit. Why would they do that? Why would they have Sephiroth say 7 seconds until the end? And now everyone's thinking until the end. So obviously end game shit, right? There's something you have to do in the third installment. In the last 7 seconds, you have to make a choice or something. No. 7 seconds until the end. The end for Sephiroth. Because like I told you, remember, I told you that when Sephiroth kills Aerith, he effectively ensures his defeat. He ensures that he dies because the white materia falls into the live stream, and that is a pivotal moment because that had to happen. With that happening, Sephiroth, he's defeated in the end. All right, I'm not gonna say how. Again, I'm not gonna. I could blow it up. We blew up so much shit already. But because of that, Sephiroth ensures his defeat. So what moment does Sephiroth has to change in order to change the ending? Is that fucking moment. Is that moment, that very pivotal moment, that moment that we all, that hurt us the most, that just like changed our lives as kids, as gamers. When Aerith fucking dies, man. That is the moment. This is why they introduced the whispers. This is why Sephiroth absorbed the whispers. This is why he's coming back. This is why he told Cloud 7 seconds until the end. The end is that moment, because in that moment Cloud has to choose. Cloud has to choose whether Aerith dies, Tifa dies. Somebody's got to fucking die, but he's got to choose, and depending on his choice will change the outcome. What if, because of the choice you made, right? So, all right, so now we know that Remake is standalone, right? Doesn't have like your playthrough and your game save data. It does not affect your playthrough for Rebirth. But what if now, because Rebirth is no longer a PS4 game, it's like, what if Rebirth essentially is the game where you're making these heavy choices, and depending on the choice you make and how you end the game, the file that you load up for the third game, you get to continue that file with all those choices you made in Rebirth for the third game. So if you chose Tifa to die, when you load up the third game, Tifa is gonna be dead. Or if you chose the canon, right, the canon timeline where Aerith dies, when you load up the third game, Aerith is dead. Guys, I don't think you really understand what it is I'm trying to tell you here. This shit is gonna be epic as fuck. If you thought the original game was impactful, bro, Rebirth is gonna break even all of us OG gamers, bro. All those fans of the original game, the original story. It's gonna blow our fucking minds, bro. It's gonna blow our minds. Is there anything else? Fuck, man. It's like so much shit I want to talk about, but it's like now you understanding, right? Putting 2 and 2 together. 7 seconds until the end. Time enough for you, right? Cloud. So he's telling Cloud, like, yo, Cloud, you got 7 seconds, nigga. You have to choose within those 7 seconds what's gonna happen. And depending on what you choose, it will change. It literally may change the ending of the trilogy. Now, I'm not saying that, Sephiroth is going to win. I'm pretty sure even if you choose Tifa to die, I'm pretty sure, like, the developers are going to... The way it ends is still going to be very similar. They're not changing how... The way you go about it, though, the way you get there toward the ending is what's going to change, right? And that very pivotal moment of when Sephiroth kills Aerith is the moment that changes everything. That is the moment, I think, that the developers are emphasizing so much, which is why they gave you the choice between Tifa and Aerith in Remake, which is why Sephiroth told Cloud that. Sephiroth, having knowledge of what is gonna happen, he's telling Cloud, bro, like, he knows what's gonna happen. But now, because the whispers are destroyed, now even the future is new to even Sephiroth. As powerful as he is, having defeated the whispers, not even Sephiroth, having come from the future, knows the choices that Cloud is gonna make in that pivotal moment where Sephiroth is saying that's the end, bro. Depending on what you choose, there is gonna make or break the fucking ending of the game. And yet, I don't think the developers are gonna be like, oh yeah, Cloud and crew are all gonna die because you made the choice to save Aerith. Now Sephiroth is gonna have the upper hand and he's gonna defeat the crew, and now you done fucked up. Part 3 is just like now you have to play through Rebirth all over again and make the right choices and then get to part 3 to get the right ending. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think the crew still defeats Sephiroth in the end, maybe in a different way if you do choose like Tifa to die, but in the end, like, Sephiroth is still gonna die, but it's just not gonna happen depending on your choices the way that we remembered it happening. Alright, chat. I'm getting a call. Let me end this shit here. I'll let you later. Peace.